Good evening, friends. Please shut your eyes. So, online students, please confirm that I am audible. Online students, please type yes if I am audible. Thank you. So, we begin with a quick recap. Hand over the mic to some student. Yes. So, what did we study yesterday?
So we talked about the intellectual influence, and after that we also talked about the emergence of sociology in USA.
So tell me some intellectual influences on early sociology.
Okay. So influence of biology was that there were two impacts. Firstly, that we picked organic analysis from there. Also, we talked about sociologists got influenced by the evolution. So
yes.
We picked these two things from there. After that,
particularly whose writings in sociology? Particularly whose writings were influenced by this biology theory? Herbert Spencer. Very good. Pass on the mic. Thank you. What else?
Sir, Herbert Spencer originated the term survival of the fittest, and his writings were known as social Darwinism.
Yes.
And
what other influence on?
Second was the history. Just
history.
like the biology evolved, history also evolved. Like in the ancient period, it was primitive. Then in the medieval period, it was feudal, and in the modern period, it was industrial. And we collected the data as well from the history. So
very good.
That helped. And
pass on the mic. What else?
Sir, social surveys were there.
Yes. Elaborate on that a bit.
The large-scale data was collected on the basis of that time society. It can be used further for the analysis of and processing of data.
All right, thank you. Pass it to the gentleman on your left. Yes. What else? Yes. What other intellectual influences we discussed? Sorry? Please revise, friends, regularly. Pass it on to the next person. Yes. The scientific approach. Absolutely. The concept of, what do you mean by perfectibility? Sorry? The notion of progress. Absolutely. Right. Thank you. Pass it on. What did we discuss next?
Perfectibility.
He spoke about the notion of perfectibility. What else?
Self-enlightenment.
The counter-enlightenment, he's saying. Yes. Name some counter-enlightenment scholars. Very good. Very good. Pass it on. Then we discussed what? After this we discussed The evolution of sociology in America. Tell us about it.
Civil War, the society is modern. America, society is modern.
Sorry?
In Civil War period in America, society is modern.
Okay. Continue. You have to write a 10 marker.
We discussed about the emergence of sociology in USA. So the sociologists in USA were heavily influenced by the writings that has been written in the Germany and Europe.
Very good. 1 second. Bhaiya, just tell him not to talk. I can hear him. Please continue.
And in 1875, first course on sociology was established by the Sumner, and in 1895, first journal was published by the.
Very good. Thank you. Pass it on. What was Sumner's orientation?
Was it by Bertie Spencer
Yes.
on the theory of survival.
All right. Thank you. And pass it on. What next we discussed?
About the opinion of Ward,
Lester Frank Ward. So what was his views?
that he opposed the ideology of Spencer and Sumner and said that government intervention is must for the society welfare, and he coined the term telesis fortis.
Yes. Very good. Very good. Very aptly described. Pass it on. Some other contributions to American sociology. Yes? All right. Use the mic if you can. Okay, Charlotte Gilman.
And he
Yes. All right, pass it on. Any other influence?
So we studied about the voice.
Yes.
One of the earliest black sociologists.
Correct.
Who wrote about discrimination and stories of stereotypes and all. And he also talked about improvement in it.
Very good, very good. Pass it on. What was the Chicago school?
It is a research institute in the America.
Tell me some Chicago school scholars.
The Robert Park,
Is he your friend, first name basis? Robert? You have to say the scholar's full name or last name.
the Park,
Robert Park. Any other? Okay. Fine. Then we discussed what? Sociology as a science, wherein we discussed, shall I say somewhat quite unconvincingly, that sociology is a scientific discipline. Says who? Yes. Yes, you. Yes? Yeah. Auguste Comte. What is this school called? Positivism. What is the argument of the positivists? Okay, so sociology can use the scientific method, but why? What is the logic, the rationale employed by the positivists? Why do they contend that sociology can, understand society by using the scientific method? Yes.
But that true knowledge is only derived through experimental and empirical evidence.
Okay.
So anything in sociology can be actually verified by the experiment that is done for the same. So nothing is superficial.
That is fine, but what is it about the nature of social life? Yes, human behavior is determined basically by social forces. not by the individual, right? So it follows a set pattern, a definitive pattern, and those patterns we can uncover by collecting empirical data and its scientific processing. Fine. Any other positivists we know of, apart from Sri Comte? Durkheim, Emile Durkheim, very important contributor to positivism. Is that all we had discussed? Chaliye. Doubts, please. Online students, any doubts? Any doubts of the online students, please ask. There's a question. Can we say that sociology in Europe emerged from the Enlightenment, and in America it emerged from the chaos, like the Civil War, as a basic difference? What I would say that in many ways European sociology was also a product of chaos and disorder, or the transformative changes that were a result of the industrial and French revolutions. So it's not too much of a point of a difference. Secondly, American sociology was heavily influenced by European sociology, right? So it will not be appropriate to put it that way. Okay? Yes, any doubts here, or any other online students? Yes? Because the intent was never to preempt or prevent certain kind of changes, say revolutionary changes. Huh? Governments or political leadership may have a vested interest in maintaining order, preventing very radical kind of changes. Okay? Now there may be a variety of factors which still enable revolutions. We'll be discussing about revolutions at some length later on. Okay, like what goes into the making of a revolution. Suffice it to say for now that when things cannot remain contained within the existing social framework, then revolutions erupt. And as we had discussed also in the case of French and industrial revolutions, though seem sudden, they don't happen in a jiffy. There is some preparation that goes into the making of a revolution. Huh? Yes?
Some humans do possess some arbitrary nature, like sociopaths.
Yes. So, how a positivist, he's saying some humans may be, sociopaths, they may be like non-conformist and whatnot. They have an arbitrary element which we perhaps cannot predict or, decipher easily. So such exceptions may be there, but that does not deny the existence of the norm. Huh? Yes. What is? Method of surveillance according to Michael Foucault. So Foucault basically, why are you asking this? Like in what context? I will explain, but okay. So surveillance basically means, how people are being watched over. How the authorities, the powers that be, how they kind of keep an eye on the general populace or masses, etc. In Foucault's writings, there is this concept of a panopticon. Panopticon is a architectural scheme, a way of surveillance or keeping an eye on prison inmates in jails. So how it is that there is a circular kind of a building wherein you have prisoner cells all around. In the center you have a tower The question is on what is surveillance. What's the exact question? The surveillance methods in Foucault's writings. So that is what I am explaining. So there is an architectural style where you have a circular building with the prison inmates in the cells, and in the middle there is a tower. Okay, and that tower is a watchtower. Matlab there is a prison guard, policeman in the tower. Because of the nature of this architecture, prisoner in every cell feels he is being watched by the guard. Okay, even if the guard is not watching him, the prisoners cannot see the guard, but they see this very, the only thing they see before them is the guard tower. So they feel they are under continuous surveillance. So what is happening is, with modernization, the methods of surveillance are improving by leaps and bounds. Like this kind of a system was in the immediate aftermath of modernization. Since then, what you have had is advancements in technology, and particularly communications and transportation technologies, that have further enhanced the capabilities of surveillance. For example, nowadays it is said we are living in surveillance capitalism, meaning the employers can keep a watchful eye on the employees literally 24/7. You are always on the job. In a job, you are literally always on the job. You are always answerable to the boss due to, say, WhatsApp. The boss will message you anytime. Yes or no? Where are you? Send me a photo. Lot of people, in sales jobs or field jobs, they would basically go away from the office and go and sleep at home earlier. Because, but now surveillance capabilities have increased. So they have to report all the time. Or you send your that current location thing. These are methods of surveillance. With Facebook and all these apps, okay, Google Maps, we are under continuous surveillance by the state and the big corporates. They literally know everything about us and are keeping a continuous eye through cookies, through CCTV cameras and whatnot. What else?
Sir,
yes.
there was a line my
See, Google is listening. So spooky, yeah.
Huh. There was a line my 6 can be your 9, like this. So my thought process can be very much different from yours. So how can it be related with the positives? Like there can't be a similar pattern between my thoughts and your thoughts.
You are quoting this line from where?
I have read somewhere my 6 can be your 9. My
okay.
Can be different from your thought. How can there be a pattern link between our thoughts?
You can always oppose the positivist viewpoint. Okay, but then those who belong to that school, they have their own justification, explanation of it. We will be discussing the opposing viewpoint today. Yes. So how is the impact of the Renaissance and the Enlightenment different when it comes to the emergence of sociology? The two historical periods in European history, they do not have to be seen in isolation. In fact, they are a continuum. They constitute a continuum. The Enlightenment was the logical culmination of the developments during the Renaissance. The scientific method which was developed during the Renaissance, that was applied to various fields of human inquiry during the Enlightenment. Combinedly together, they contributed to the modernization of Europe, which resulted in the establishment or, resulted in the need for a discipline of sociology. We don't need to necessarily draw a strict line of distinction when it comes to that. Having said that, if one must, one could say that the impact of Enlightenment was more in terms of those intellectual currents that we discussed, whether it was counter-enlightenment, concern for stability and order, whether it was rationality and the scientific approach, biology, history, all those things that we discussed. Right? Renaissance particularly gave that emphasis on the human condition, the realistic orientation, that we also see in sociology later on. Huh? Yes? Okay. हाँ बोलिए.
Sir, I'm not able to conclude the phrase sociology as a science. It is because the science at that time is at very high level, or the belief of people in science is much more, or something else.
You are asking why was sociology established as a science? Partly it is due to the respect that scientists or the scientific community had in that time, partly. But otherwise also, even conceptually, Comte and Durkheim, other founding fathers were quite clear in their heads that it is scientific in nature. Because social life also is determined by certain underlying principles or laws. So social world is not very different from the natural world. Huh? Yes? I didn't understand your question very frankly.
In the previous class, and we have built this understanding that sociology is considered as a science only. So what about the data which the scholars shared, the other scholars shared, that it has the concerns related to the chaos and uncertainty. So how was that data looked upon?
Let me put it this way, whatever I make of your question, there was a dual character in sociology in the sense, one, there was a yearning for progress, advancement as represented in the scheme of social evolution. On the other hand, there was also a concern for order and stability inspired from counter-enlightenment thought. That was the dual character. The emphasis on data, okay, that sprung, or data empiricism, that sprung from the, rationality and scientific approach which became integral to early sociology, or the method of early sociology. Huh?
Asking this, that the other data was completely neglected, or
which data was neglected, you're saying?
Related to this, that the sociology creates chaos in the society. And
No, sociology does not create chaos in the society. Sociology studies chaos. Are you suggesting that the early sociologists neglected that disorder and chaos?
Yes, I'm asking.
No, they did not. To their credit, they did not. Though they had a functionalist orientation, they also kind of did talk about the disorder that was prevalent and what could be the solutions for that. They tried to figure out. Huh? May I proceed with your permission? Any last one question? Whose hand is longer? Yes, brother. Huh? Ask quickly.
Sir, in positivism theory, we came to know that sociologists are of prejudice. They don't bias on something.
Are
Prejudice.
They are prejudiced. Positivists don't say that.
They are not.
They are not prejudiced. Yes.
Not. So, what if a sociologist is a feminist or from a discriminatory background, and if he collects the data from that background only and he presents that, then is it not
prejudiced? So there would be, the question is, we said that sociologists are not prejudiced, but what about those who are like feminists? As an example, because feminists seem to be clearly prejudiced in favor of women. So feminist sociologists typically would tend to wear their value preferences on their sleeves. They will not typically agree with the positivist view that sociology needs to be objective. Okay? Chaliye, now we proceed, and any other doubts we take up in person after the lecture, because we have an agenda to complete. Before we write anything, tell me, forget whatever theory and whatever we are studying, but personally, using your own mind, are you convinced by Comte's logic? Vehemently no. Huh? It's quite a categorical, clear no. None of you seems to be convinced by Comte. Where is Comte going wrong when he is categorizing or characterizing, sociology as a science? Sorry, yes? Fixating on objectivity. Why is this guy unnecessarily, he seems to suggest, obsessed with, something so mundane as objectivity? Okay. Sorry? She is saying you can't have universal facts or generalizations. Comte gave a universal law of social evolution. According to Bhai Sahab, all societies pass through 3 stages. Yes. So sociological, output of sociological research would vary on the conditions which vary with culture. Huh? Yes. No, he's perfectly saying whatever he's saying is absolutely legit. So Comte neglected the human element in social life. He treated us like things or objects. In fact, Durkheim, who further concretized Comte's positive philosophy, he said you treat social facts as things, nothing else but as things. Yes. Raise your hand now so that I can locate you. Yes. Individual behavior is not taken into account. For them, we are all the same. Huh? Yes. We cannot perform controlled experiments on human beings. Huh? Why do you say that? Every human being has his own reasoning, his own thinking, his own desires. Yes. Yes. Experimentation is not possible in society. Is that correct? Have we heard of something called social experiments? Nowadays, dime a dozen on YouTube. Huh? That if a middle-aged man faints on the road, nobody helps, but a young damsel falls, so everybody comes to help.
But in a science experiment, we all categorize things like that we have this condition like O2.
Like
anything we did experiment like photosynthesis, we did an experiment like how much O2 is present here. So such kind of things we can't do in a.
How much O2 you were saying?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So such kind of things we can't do in a society.
So we can't control the variables in when it comes to experimenting in social things. Yes.
One is the individual consciousness or the individual thought is neglected. Another one, when the sociologist is collecting the data might be right or wrong. The person may hide the original data and then.
Okay, so the data may be corrupted in some sense. Yes.
If we can see the COVID scenario itself, before COVID, work from home was taken as a taboo. Like if you are taking work from home, the manager would say they will not work today for sure. But now is it a norm? It is a norm.
So what is the argument that you are developing?
So same human beings change their way of thinking just due to external.
So positivists don't deny that.
Yeah.
They don't deny that.
But
Positivists, in fact, quite agree that such kind of changes are very much possible. And social factors can enable such changes. So that's not an appropriate criticism, with due respect, of the positivist perspective. Yes?
Empirical data based on the data which society uses in completely based on the sample survey size, but with the change in sample survey, the data can also be changed, and we cannot completely rule out the bias that sociologists are having towards society.
Sociologists may be biased people. After all, they are also human beings. So they can't be. So why are the natural sciences considered free from bias? Physics, chemistry, bio kinds. We are not emotional about plants and animals and human body parts. Human body parts one can be very emotional about.
Anywhere it can be experimental.
चलिए. It is verifiable. So can sociological gyan be verified? Whatever claims a sociologist makes, they can also be verified. Sorry? Okay. Nature also varies, na? So, I mean, that argument doesn't hold. Yeah. Yes. Hmm. Don't talk now, please. You're saying Western societies are somewhat homogeneous and, this kind of data collection might work for them. Indian society is very heterogeneous. So, why can't your data reflect that heterogeneity? Like your census does. Your census captures the religious diversity, caste to some extent or whatever. Linguistic.
That is being done by the government and it takes very long time. But most of the survey participants.
So you're saying they'll be localized and not capture the diversity. All right. Yes. Yes.
Every social event or any social crime cannot be understood through logic or reason. At every stage, we cannot place logic or reason behind every social event.
Why not? She's saying you cannot explain everything, with reason or logic. Whatever is happening in society. Why not? Because we are not 100% rational. We are also driven by, say, emotions. Right? Absolutely, yes. Be a bit louder, please. People have different types of orientations and meanings that they attach. Absolutely. Last. The actor's motivation is neglected. And the last. So Comte was parochial in his views. He only had the Western kind of his own localized European environment. He neglected the rich diversity of Indian society, for instance. ठीक है, चलिए, thank you. So yes, friends, a lot of what you say will find resonance in the writings of the anti-positivists. Non-positivist is a wider term. Okay, anti-positivist is a somewhat narrower term. Anti-positivists are those who contend. I'll explain non-positivism later, much later. Okay, anti-positivists are those who contend that the scientific method cannot be applied to study society. What else were you expecting? Positivists are those who contend that the scientific method is applicable to study society. Anti-positivists are those who contend that the scientific method is not applicable to study society. At the beginning of this discipline, I'm not dictating, I'm explaining. At the beginning of this discipline, okay, Comte, Durkheim, etc., the discipline clearly had a scientific orientation. As per the founding fathers, sociology was clearly scientific in character, using the same methods as the physical or the natural sciences, like physics or chemistry, exhibiting the same kind of objectivity as a physics or chemistry. However, later on, starting with who? Bilkul, Weber. an increasing number of scholars started considering that the scientific method is not the appropriate one to capture social reality or to study society. That the scientific method is not appropriate to study society. You can write later now, first listen, first understand. Okay, I'll dictate. Okay, now you will listen. What is their logic or rationale? These anti-positivists, their main argument is that you cannot use the same method which you use in physics or chemistry in sociology. Reason being, the subject matter of the two disciplines is fundamentally different. The subject matter, what we study in sociology, is fundamentally different from what we study in a physics or chemistry. What is that difference? What do the physical sciences study? They study matter, things, objects. That is their subject matter. The subject matter of social sciences like sociology is human beings, human relationships, human institutions. Human beings and matter are different at a very fundamental level. Human beings, unlike matter, how are we different from things? Sorry? We have a consciousness. In other words, we are thinking entities. We have brains in our heads, which we apply in each and every situation, even the laziest amongst us. Continuously we are thinking. Things or objects which the physical sciences study, they do not have a mind to think. So they do not think. Things or matter, what the physical sciences study, matter reacts mechanically to any external stimuli which is applied. Matter reacts mechanically, following certain laws or patterns, to any external stimuli which is applied to it. Human beings do not respond mechanically to external stimuli. Human beings, before they react, they interpret, they attach meaning to any stimuli that they get. Stimuli meaning any external force or, anything that would provoke you to action. Provoke in the sense, spur you to action. So anything that spurs you to action before you act, you meaning you and I, we humans, we give some meaning to it and we react based on the meaning that we give. For example, let's take a couple of examples to draw this distinction between matter or things, what the physical sciences study, and human beings, men, that sociology studies. This is what? No, this is the subject matter of physical sciences or sociology. It is matter, right? Now, if an external force is applied to this pen, say 5 Newton force is applied, what will it do? It will move a certain length ahead. Then if a 10 Newton force is applied, what will it do? Move further ahead. 20 newtons, further. 40 newtons, further ahead, based on a certain pattern that the object follows. At some point of time, it may fall down. Will it think, मैं टूट गया तो क्या होगा? What if I break? I should not fall on my head or my nib. Does it do that? Simply because it does not have a thinking capacity. It has no capacity or ability to think. So the external force which is applied to it simply produces a response which is mechanical. Human beings are qualitatively different entities. When human beings are subjected to an external force, they do not mechanically react or respond. They attach a meaning to it. They interpret it to mean something, any external stimuli. And based on that interpretation, they will react. Imagine if a human being is pushed with 5 Newton force, then 10 and 20. Will he mechanically keep going farther and farther? No. If you are a person and you are pushed by someone, how will you react, brother? He will pull that person. Mere saath tu bhi. Okay, that's a novel response. What about you, madam? If you were pushed by a person. Sorry? You will also pull him. Okay. What about you? She's saying if he pushes me, I will respectfully fall down. Okay. Yes. Sorry? He will react. How will you react? Maybe you will box the person. No. So you'll probably try to hold on to something to not fall down. Perfect. Yeah. Legit. What will you do here? There are so many. These are only this thing. She will slap. Perfectly legit. Huh? Perfectly legit. We can shift also. Bhai sahab, aapko jaldi aap jao. Yeah, absolutely. Point is, friends, the same force, a push of say 10 newtons, hypothetical, produces different responses by different human beings. Why? Because each of us interpret it differently. We attach a different meaning to that external stimuli. That is, so before we are reacting, we are interpreting the external stimuli. And why do the meanings that we give to this external stimuli differ? Because we differ. So what meaning a person will give to an external stimuli will depend on that person's gender, for instance. The counteractor's gender. So if a female is pushed by a male whom she doesn't know, she may interpret it as sexual assault. If a male is pushed by another male, but who is a friend, you may take it as a, kind of a high five or bhai kaisa hai, But if you are pushed by a person you were bullied in school by long years back, you will interpret it very differently. That he's again trying to bully me in adulthood, and I will not take it. Are you with me? It may depend on one's caste. So if you are pushed by a person of high caste and you are low caste, that person may feel, acha, he's doing it because I am low caste. It's a caste assault. Are you with me? So many factors can be at play. Does the same person react to the same stimuli same way every time? Every time if you are pushed by a certain force, will you react the same way? You will definitely possibly react differently. Once you are pushed, you will say okay. Second time you like okay, it could be a coincidence. Third time you like, this guy is making it into a habit or he's trying to insult me. So de dena then. Or you may react very differently. It may depend on your mood. Something as fickle as that. So if you're in a happy mood and you are pushed, you'll be like, okay, no worries. Life is a little pushy. But if you're in a foul mood and you are pushed, then you won't take it. Right? You'll react very differently. If you have, say you've had a fight with your wife at home and then you are pushed by a stranger. It will depend on the social situation, friends. If you are pushed, say, in a cricket stadium where an indoor park match is going on, then will you start beating and bashing them up? No, you will be bashed then if you do. Because the push is expected in that kind of a social situation. But if it is like an isolated room, two people of the opposite gender, and you are given a push by the other, that is very different kind of a situation. Yes or no? If you are pushed by a parent, will you be reacting that violently? No. You will respectfully fall like she will. Than if you are pushed by a stranger or an enemy or somebody you see as an adversary. Are you with me? So there are any number of countless literally factors which will determine what is the meaning that we attach to that external stimuli. It will vary from person to person and also for the same person at different points of time. Human behavior therefore is very varied. It doesn't follow any set singular pattern as the positivists claim. Huge variations in how human beings behave. Therefore, you cannot use the scientific method. Scientific method can only capture the outside things which are observable, which are capturable by, empirical ways. It cannot capture the meanings and the motivations of the individual, which are internal to us. Yes or no? That is the thing. Who sounds more correct? Positivist or anti? Yeah. Quite clearly anti. Huh? Yes. They sound more reasonable, na? चलिए लिखें anti-positivism. Dash. Have we written anything till now? Like dictated portion? No. So let us now. A large number of scholars beginning with Weber started questioning the applicability of the scientific method. The applicability of the scientific method. In sociology. Give the heading anti-positivism, huh? Full stop. According to the anti-positivists, the scientific method is not the appropriate method, for sociological research. Because, same sentence, because the subject matter of sociology is fundamentally different from the subject matter of the physical sciences. Full stop. Physical sciences study matter. Physical sciences study matter, comma. Sociology studies man. Studies man. Full stop. Man, unlike matter, has consciousness. Man, unlike matter, has consciousness. He thinks. Full stop डाल के he after full stop he thinks and attaches meanings to any external force or stimuli. To any external force or stimuli. Full stop. Matter mechanically reacts or responds to external stimuli. Full stop. On the other hand, man interprets and attaches meanings to his own actions, comma, actions of counteractors, or any other external stimuli. Full stop. The meaning, please underline the meaning, meaning thing. Meaning is important here. The meaning that men attach, meanings kar do usko, make it plural. The meanings that men attach depend upon a host of factors or a variety of factors. Depend upon a variety of factors. Such as the social background and personal life experiences of the actor, the social background and personal life experiences of the actor, comma, the social background of the counter actors. What do you mean by actor and counter actor? Actor is the person performing an act. The counter actors is in relation to whom they are being performed. Are you clear? So I am teaching. In this case, I am a social actor who is undertaking the act of teaching. And who are the counter actors? The students are the counter actors. Because it is in your context or in to you I am doing the teaching. Okay? What did we write, beta? Last sentence, just repeat to me. The last full sentence.
The social background and personal
from wherever that sentence begins, please read out.
Meaning that when attached depend upon a host of factors or varieties such as the social background or personal life experiences of the actor and comma the social background and counter actor.
So the social background of the counter actors, comma, the social context, the mood, at a particular moment in time, etc. Thus, human behavior does not follow any set pattern. Does not follow any set pattern. Full stop. The scientific method can capture only the observable aspects of social reality. It can only capture the observable aspects of social reality. Full stop. It cannot. The scientific method cannot capture the underlying meanings, motivations, emotions of the actors involved. Full stop. According to anti-positivists, one cannot formulate generalizations regarding human behavior or social life. Full stop. One thing I like to share here, anti-positivists broadly are also known as the social action approach. Social action approaches. Okay. Now there are many social action approaches or anti-positivists. Why they are called the social action approach? Because they focus on social action as the unit of analysis. In contrast to positivists. Positivists focus on what? Society as a whole or big social institutions. These guys on the other hand focus on the social actions being performed by the individual social actors. Right? So these are called social action approaches. And there are many amongst them which I can only make mention of, or you will read about them, but we will discuss later. Weber, the social action approaches follow from Weber. Apart from Weber, you have many such as symbolic interactionism. We will be studying later. Okay, so don't worry right now if you come across these terms in books or whatever. Symbolic interactionism, phenomenology, fancy, scary sounding words, ethnomethodology. We will be studying all these later. These are social action approaches or anti-positivist approaches. What they really say in detail we'll be studying later, because right now it will be intimidating if we discuss them. Ethnomethodology. Be louder please and don't cross talk. Yes.
Matter versus man, right? So man in the sense we have to see it in the gender neutral or
Gender neutral, of course. Gender neutral. Women are subsumed under the category of man. Okay? Now please appreciate there's a fundamental difference between the positivist and the anti-positivist camps regarding the nature of social reality. Don't talk please. The positivists, they consider that individual is important or no? According to positivists, the individual is not important. He is basically like a robot. The script is laid down by the society. The society decides what is to be done. Individuals merely play their part. So the society decides this is what the husband does, this is what a wife does. Different males and females in a society will follow the same script. So individuals have no deciding power regarding what they do. They simply follow the social rules. On the other hand, the anti-positivists have a very different view of the relationship between the individual and society. Anti-positivists consider that the individual makes decisions. The individual makes decisions. He decides how he has to perform or act in any situation. मैं लिखवा दूंगा. I'll dictate. The society may give broad guidelines. According to the anti-positivists, they concede society may give broad guidelines, but it does not minutely control the individual. The individual has a good amount of room for flexibility or to choose what to follow and what not to follow. So from an anti-positivist perspective, every husband-wife pair is same or unique? Unique. And there's a popular saying that no two marriages are the same. No two marriages are the same. The positivists tell you what? All husband-wives are same. Man earning, woman raising kids and blah blah. The anti-positivists say the society may have created a certain script for individuals to follow, but people do not follow those scripts mechanically. People undertake a negotiation. So every husband-wife couple decide their own terms of engagement. Every relationship chalks out its own terms. True. So, for instance, you have had many teachers in your life till today. Many teachers. I have also had many students in my life till today. But do we share a special bond with some teachers and not the others? Yes, as students? Clearly we do. Similarly, teachers also have a stronger bond with some students than the others. Was every teacher the same for you? The society did cast you in the role of a student and the other guy in the role of a teacher. But was that relationship same? No. Some teachers, they leave a very deep imprint in our minds. We remember them long after we were taught by them. So we were taught by some teacher in 5th or 7th standard, and yet we recall what they taught or how they taught. I've learned, for instance, as a teacher, I've learned from my teacher's ways of teaching. And I still get inspired by that in some ways, And then there would be some teachers you would want to forget in their presence only. Some teachers you really begin to love, and some you literally begin to detest. Yes or no? Some teachers you may know personally. Other teachers you may have, not even a formal acquaintance with. So every relationship is unique, forged, its contours determined by the individuals involved. You would have seen amongst, around you, many say couples. Are they all the same? Every couple is having its own battles with each other. but different kinds. Some couples you may have seen, husband-wife pairs, where the husband and wife both are very respectful towards each other. Some couples you may have seen where the husband is very disrespectful towards the wife. Treats her like dirt. Yes or no? Others you may have seen where the wife disrespects the husband. That is only one parameter we have taken, which is, the respect shown to the other person. So and the relationship can be unique on so many aspects. How the work is divided, how monetary, financial arrangement, what it is, so many things. So point is, friends, human beings are not robots according to the anti-positivists. They are thinking individuals with an independent mind. Yes, society does tell you, no, you should do this or that. But the individual is not fully or 100% compliant with the dictates of the society. Right? Then right. That's an Anupras Alankar. Right? The positivists picture the individual members of a society, the individual members as fully compliant. To comply means to agree, obey, fully compliant with the dictates of the society. With the dictates meaning whatever is being told that you must do that. With the dictates of the society. Full stop. They view the individual as dutifully, not beautifully, dutifully, dutifully following the social rules. Dutifully following the social rules. And performing his various roles, husband, teacher, student, all these things. These are various roles that we play. And fulfilling various roles. What did we write? And conforming to his various roles. Performing his various roles as laid down by who? The society. Full stop. Anti-positivists, on the other hand, consider that social actors have agency and free will. Have agency and free will. Agency means deciding power. Okay? They can take decisions. They have agency and free will. Full stop. Individual social actors may take a cue. May take a cue. Cue meaning a hint. CUE, cue, hint. From the guidelines laid down by the society. The individual actors may take a hint or a cue from the guidelines laid down by the society. Comma, but they exercise their own mind and judgment. They exercise their own mind and judgment. Full stop. ठीक है? We are social actors, na? The individual members who are acting, who are performing actions. That is the terminology that social action theory uses. We are social actors. I am performing certain actions. I am teaching. It's a social action. So I am the actor here. You are the counter actor here. Now you are asking a question. You are the social actor. Okay? I am the counter actor to whom you are asking the question. So the guy who is performing the act, he is the actor, simply. Now let me try to drive home further the difference between the two approaches, positivism and anti-positivism, with an illustration, with an example. A study of suicide. Was conducted by Durkheim. Using which method? Louder. Using the scientific method. Durkheim is one of the founders of the positivist school along with Comte. So I'll be discussing Durkheim's study briefly. We'll be discussing this in detail when we come to Durkheim. He is mentioned in our syllabus. Right now I'll be only touching upon the, how scientific his study was. That aspect. Then we'll be studying another study of suicide from the anti-positivist perspective. Okay? Sri Durkheim, he conducted a scientific study of suicide. So what did he do? Sorry? He collected empirical data. He collected empirical data regarding suicide rates in various societies from official records, police stations, medical records, hospitals and etc. He collected empirical data about, first he began with a clear definition of suicide, because you need to be sure what you are talking about, right? When you are conducting a scientific study, you need to have clarity of the concept that you will be studying. So he began with a clear-cut definition of suicide, that suicide refers to those deaths which are blah blah blah. We'll discuss. Okay? Basically, which are voluntarily done by the guy, right? So he began with a clear definition of the phenomena under study, which was suicide. Then he collected empirical data about suicide from official records. He collected vast amounts of data from several societies. He was French, German, English, and so on and so forth. For several years, 10, 20, 30 years, data he picked up. That what were the number of suicides in each of these societies per lakh population. Okay? Then he did what? What will he do? He analyzed the data or processed the data. He classified it into appropriate categories. For example, he classified into categories of rural and urban. Suicide rates in rural areas, urban areas. He classified it by religion. Amongst Jews, amongst Catholic Christians, Protestant Christians, and so on. Gender basis, male, female, and so on. Married, unmarried. He classified it into various categories and compared. And then he arrived at what? A generalization or kind of a law, a conclusion. That the rate of suicide is high when the level of integration in a society is excessively low. What it is, what is social integration, we'll discuss later. Simply put, if people are not very strongly attached to the community, let us put it this way, then there would be a higher suicide rate. Okay? So that was his scientific study of suicide, or his analysis of suicide using the positivist perspective, the scientific method. Clear? If you want to write anything, you can. I'm just pausing. He said that if the rate of social integration in a society is very low, then the suicide rate is high. That was one of his generalizations. If the social integration level is very low, the rate of suicide is high. We'll discuss when we discuss theory of suicide. Huh? This was his scientific analysis. This was a scientific analysis, and it was a groundbreaking theory. It was a very very wide popularity. Till this date, this study is quoted, Durkheim's. So even modern day researches and studies of suicide, they cannot escape mentioning Durkheim's study. So it was that impactful. Though it has been challenged also. Yes? Sorry? Who approved? The Samaj, the scientific community, the community of sociologists. Basically, it received widespread approval in academia. Academia means the people who write books and stuff, who do the teaching and. Anyways, another study of suicide. Please don't talk. Please don't talk, beta. Another study of suicide done from a very different perspective. The anti-positivist perspective was conducted by Sri Atkinson. Douglas also conducted a study from the anti-positivist perspective. Douglas. Like Michael Douglas. Not Michael Douglas, but Douglas. Atkinson. Okay, Atkinson. Now he belongs to a, he's a phenomenologist. They are very extreme regarding this non-application of the scientific method. He says what Durkheim is assuming to be data, statistics about suicide, is it really an objective fact? Police records or hospital records, do they tell us the clear, true picture? What Atkinson argues, basically, suicide statistics are produced by certain members of the society. They are created. So what we regard as suicide is socially manufactured. It is not an objective truth. Please appreciate. It is not an objective truth. Some social actors, how is data produced? Some social actors decide to classify certain deaths as suicide and others as non-suicide. A person is found dead. Now, the police people, the doctors, etc., they are entrusted with the job of branding or classifying that death as into one of the categories. One of the categories is suicide. It could be also classified as a natural death, accidental death, murder, or suicide, say broadly. Some of these deaths get categorized as suicide. It doesn't mean they are suicide. Please appreciate, it's a social process. It's a negotiation. Sushant Singh Rajput, his death, what is it? Is it a suicide? Is it a murder? If you believe Arnab Goswami, you'll have one version. If you believe the official police version, it's quite different. So we really can't say. Official data is not sacrosanct. Now that particular case captured the headlines. But any death is classified as either suicide or any of the other type by the social actors involved. How do they do it? How do the police officers are who? They're also human beings. They're also social actors. How do they classify deaths as suicide or non-suicide? Listen, I will give you two scenarios. Two persons are found dead, Mr. A and Mr. B. Mr. A came from a very loving family, loving home. Mr. B came from a broken home. Both are found dead. Mr. A had recently had a messy divorce and lost substantial wealth in a share market crash. Mr. B was doing, who came from a broken home? B, no. So B had financial loss and divorce. A came from a very happy marriage and blah blah, financially secure. A was found dead by a gunshot to his temple. B was found dead by a noose hanging around his neck. Which of the two is suicide? B. Clearly, our instinct is to classify death B as, or Mr. B's death as suicide. Why? How did we do that? What was the internal process that was going on? What were we thinking? Why is B a suicide? Any one person, please raise your hands. I know all that. I give you those facts. So why is it that you conclude that because of this, his death is a suicide? He was poor. Okay. Now you are backwards applying Durkheim's theory. Don't do that. Don't use words like integration. His conditions compelled him to suicide. So our gut feel tells us if I have to commit suicide, I'll do it by hanging and not by a gunshot. That sounds way too painful. So that is one reason we are likely to classify B's death by hanging as suicide, not A's death by gunshot. That is most likely murder, it seems. Point is, what we are doing here, we all, in our minds, we have a common sense theory of suicide. We have certain notions who commit suicide, how, and under what conditions or circumstances. Are you with me? We fitted the facts that we got into our commonsensical theory of suicide. Are you with me? So, our base assumption is that unhappy people, of course, commit suicide, not happy people. Those who have family troubles or financial distress, they would, rather than somebody who's financially and family-wise secure. Our base assumption is that people commit suicides by ways like hanging or consuming poison, not by gunshot or say blah blah. So those facts or those cases which will fit our already preconceived notions of suicide, we classify as suicide. Who are police officers? They are also human beings like you and I. Some of us will become hopefully IPS officers. Are you with me? Yes. And the same kind of assumptions, commonsensical notions are then applied to the cases by the officials concerned. It's not only about our common sense assumptions, also a process of negotiation goes on. In this classification of deaths, I'm telling you how official data is produced. Negotiation in the sense, there are multiple social actors involved. It's not only the police officer who will this thing. So there will be witnesses. Other social actors will be involved. Maybe witnesses like what time did he go in or come out and blah blah. There may be the family members of the deceased person. They will be interviewed or talked to. Right? Some judges may be involved if it's in a court case or whatever. So there are other social actors involved. These social actors will exchange information and together come at a decision or enable the deciding authority to arrive at a decision whether it's a suicide or not. For example, now how that negotiation plays out will also depend, will also determine the outcome, whether it's classified as suicide or natural death or what. Now please appreciate, in some cultures, there is a lot of stigma, very high stigma associated with the act of suicide. Because it is seen as an admission of failure or inability to cope. In some cultures, certain acts in certain situations, what may be regarded as suicide, they are celebrated. Sometime back, there was a Jain lady in the news who had given up her own prana, and that was celebrated by the community. The practice of Santhar. Sanlekhna, yes. So, point is, such kinds of acts are celebrated. They will be highlighted and glorified, celebrated. But others, say in American culture, there is a lot of stigma associated with the act of suicide. So they may, such a family, where it is condemned as, as a sin or whatever, they will go to great lengths to hide the fact of suicide. to get the death of a family member passed off as non-suicide. Are you with me? So they may say, she was anyways very old and she was not keeping well for several days. They're trying to portray it to be a natural death. So point is, the decisions that the powers that be, the police officers, etc., arrive at, is a process of this negotiation. Point is, friends, suicide statistics are not sacrosanct. They are produced by social actors. In other words, there is no objective truth. What Durkheim assumes to be facts, objective, right, official statistics, he gives them a lot of importance. For anti-positivists, these are a product of social processes, people interacting with each other. Some social actors, using common sense. So we can't use the scientific method. What Durkheim did, according to the anti-positivists, is wrong to study suicide. He assumes that these official data that he is getting, these are real cases of suicide. What do we do then as sociologists? Our job is to study the methods that the social actors use to create suicide. Create suicide or suicide statistics. Are you with me? So suicide is a manufactured reality. It is not an actual thing that happened. Deaths happened. Some of those got classified as suicide. So our job as sociologists is to understand how and why do the social actors involved, police officers, medical officers, family members, they classify certain deaths as suicide and others as non-suicide. Are you with me? So this is how the positivist and the anti-positivist perspectives differ in their approach to social reality. Positivists consider social reality as a given. As out there, it exists, it follows definite laws, we need to only capture data and explore how society is. These guys says whatever you assume to be facts, they are questionable. They are questionable. With that, we take a 2 minutes break. Digest Atkinson till then. Hello. Online students, please confirm that I'm audible. Please type yes if you can hear me. Online students, can you hear me? Yeah, please confirm again that you can hear me. Yeah, thank you. So, okay, that was that. Moving ahead. Now we discuss some practical problems in using the scientific method in sociological research. Likho na. Practical problems in using the scientific method in sociological research. I want you now to put on your thinking caps and tell me. Imagine yourself as budding sociologists. You are, for the next 4 months at least. Imagine you have to conduct some sociological research. You are given a project. What practical problems will you encounter? Let me give you a project, hypothetical, for you to think over. You have to find out the relationship between domestic violence and marital breakdown in Karol Bagh. Okay? Or say between caste and education, or education and income in Karol Bagh. Any one project you choose, and then think, what problems will you encounter? Okay, so very correct point. He says if I go and ask people, if I try to collect data about domestic violence, many women who are actually victims of abuse may not share out of the stigma or shame associated with being a victim of domestic violence. So the statistics that I collect will be far under this thing, an underestimation. Absolutely. So people will be hesitant to share real data. What else? Room rent. We are getting to... Huh? I'm not asking you to discuss this thing as a researcher. Okay? As a researcher. He's saying, sir, room rents are like mighty high. It is time consuming. Okay. Why do you say? It's in your hands now. You're the researcher. Why do you have to choose a biased sample? Okay. You're saying the sample may not be representative. It may not be representative. Okay. And why? Give me some concrete this thing. For example, hypothetically, let me try to build on that. It's saying, we may visit only working class households because, we find them easier to approach rather than middle or upper middle class households. Yeah, something like that possibly. So we'll get somewhat skewed data. Yes.
The pain is not quantifiable. Like pain of someone might be more, but we cannot give a number to that pain. So how would we actually experiment on the pain of the domestic violence by women?
Domestic violence by women. All right. Yes, that also happens. So what about the other side? Huh? What about domestic violence by women? Huh? Okay, and you're saying that pain is not quantifiable. There is a unit of pain, no? Vese? I'm forgetting what it is called. But in medical science, there is a unit of pain. What is it called? Like when it is said, na, birthing mother undergoes the greatest pain and some unit is there. medicine background people? Chaliye. Yeah, we'll research on that. Huh?
Domestic violence definition we have to first tell the people. Many times it's like legitimized. The women don't understand that she's undergoing kind of domestic violence.
Acha. So we will have to clearly communicate the meaning of domestic violence. People may hold different meanings of that term. For some, for example, it may be only very, battery kind of, or a very severe assault they may consider as domestic violence. थप्पड़ तो वो प्यार में ही मार देते हैं. Or for some, emotional abuse may not count as domestic violence, while for others, or you as a feminist researcher, it may come under your ambit or even the legal definition of domestic violence. Huh? Yes, so the definitions or the meaning of the term may vary. Yes. So what's that got to do with your research? I'm not talking about the social problem. I'm not asking you to find, Okay, people may not reveal. Huh? Fine, accepted. Yes. Not very clear. पढ़ने के बाद भी unemployed हैं, so we are not here. Please appreciate, when we are conducting research, we are not concerned with finding solutions which some of you seem to be concerned about. We are not here to remove domestic violence, unemployment, low income levels from the society. We are trying to find out the relationship between two variables. Here, say domestic violence and marital breakdown, or education levels and income levels. Yes. I am asking you, what problems will you encounter, madam, while conducting research? Yes. Okay, so it's a very sensitive topic. We cannot perform experiments. Should we be telling husbands to say start with wife battery once a week, then take it to twice, then thrice to see where it leads to marital breakdown? Of course you can't. She's absolutely right. You're dealing with human lives and emotions and human psyches. For the sake of knowledge or research, you can't adversely affect human beings. Yes? Yes? What about it? So we cannot kind of capture the intensity, you are saying, of abuse. Okay? Absolutely. Will vary from person to person. Bitya. I'm not a social worker. Please appreciate, we are not social workers, we are researchers. All right. So people may not share data or come forward with their experiences of domestic violence. Peer kya? Family pressure. They will say, if you raise your voice, further violence you may have to suffer. Yes. Difficult to identify the control group. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, so basically what could be domestic violence for one that can't be that is not domestic violence for another.
Okay. Brother, some male voices. So the data may be somewhat skewed. False data. So why is that problematic? She is saying the data will be quantitative and not qualitative. Why is that problematic for your research?
So it will be because quality is lacking, right? Because
She's saying because of lack of energy, we can only cover 5 to 10 houses, not more. So it is sincerely advised, in case you ever take up social research, your data set should be bigger than that, okay, or sample size. But yes, let me put it this way or rephrase her this thing this way. There are practical constraints of resources, time availability, budgets at our disposal as researchers. Let me put it this way. But 5 to 10 is like too low. It's like वो तो आप अपने चौराहे पे बैठ के you can talk to 5-10 houses around you. Yes.
Sir, even after using scientific method and empirical data, we can't arrive at any generalization at last or any cause-effect relationship. Our results may vary from each person to person. Like in physical sciences, we arrive at certain generalization at which any person, if does that experiment, will reach at the same generalization. But in sociology,
He's saying we'll find it difficult to arrive at generalizations. All right, brother.
So, in case of caste and discrimination, sometimes sociologists can be biased of this caste.
Okay, so the biases of the sociologists may contaminate the data, the results. So I will not like to capture the domestic violence in Banya households because I am Banya, you say. Like possibly, okay. Or one could argue that if it's a male sociologist, he may tend to downplay the incidence of domestic violence, while a female sociologist would be biased on the other end, trying to kind of exaggerate possibly the incidence of domestic violence because of a commitment to a particular ideology. Yes?
Even if we have a data, but people won't accept it. I mean, like the data which we have, that these kinds of domestic violence are in this, like rising or something. But people, I think, won't.
He's saying people won't accept my data even if it reveals whatever domestic violence, but we are not concerned about the people. We are more concerned, as academicians and researchers about our own community. Okay, so to hell with people, yeah. You know why I say that? 1 second, because academicians, they are very highbrow. They live in their own world. That these uneducated masses, they won't understand, and we don't care if they don't understand. Yes? Overestimation, yes.
But the data set itself might change while the study is conducted. So, suppose I start in a household and they connect that there is no domestic violence. During my study, that may change.
Okay, so it may change, circumstances may change during the study. Yes? No, the lady in front. Yes.
Actually, if I have to collect the data, then I will choose the feasible the sample size or feasible households. That will also, bring some kind of biasness in.
That somebody else also mentioned that I may go to only working class households or something. Convenience bias in a way. Yes, brother. Absolutely. People would like to, keep certain kinds of information as confidential. Brother? Time? Why?
Because suppose the husband was beating wife and there was a divorce, but they came together and then the question.
The husband is apologized or something.
And again the question was asked, so she would say no.
ठीक है. Fine. Yes.
It's a possibility that women who are suffering from domestic violence is seen from since childhood. His mother is also suffering from that, and again she thinks that
It is all right.
daily it's daily things. Husband come and beat him, and after that it's a daily thing.
ठीक है. There could be other factors also, like poverty or financial distress. Absolutely. It could be due to, say, religious differences in an interfaith couple. It could be about so many things. It could be about an infidelity. So many other factors could be there. Yeah. Really, very good point. Yes.
Even the questionnaire will change. Two different groups do the same survey, and if group A has different kind of questionnaire and B has some different kind of questionnaire, so data whatever will be interpreted will be different in both the cases.
Okay. Yes.
So data is very because we choose the survey area is where the domestic violence is not more, but the domestic violence is more where we not survey. That's why the data is very.
All right. Thank you. Thanks a lot, friends. So what do you do now? Likho. The first problem that we encounter while using the scientific method in sociological research is the problem of experimentation. The problem of experimentation. Please appreciate, friends. The scientific, the process of experimentation is integral to the scientific method. When we think of science, what comes to mind is experiments. That is what we've been doing since childhood or learned since childhood. When it comes to social research, a lot of simply, it is difficult. What do you mean by an experiment? A lab type experiment you cannot easily do in sociology. Please appreciate, or in the study of society. You cannot fit entire communities into a laboratory. Are you with me? How do you fit people to be experimented upon in laboratories? Whole families and communities and social groups. The modern sciences, the physical sciences, physics, chemistry kinds, they have grown exponentially because of experiments being conducted in a lab type controlled environment. Right? But we cannot kind of, put people, groups, social groups and communities into a lab type controlled environment. One problem. If we can't keep people in groups, people or groups in labs, does it mean we cannot conduct any experiments at all in sociology? Can we conduct any experiments in sociology? Experimentation. How and where? Where will you conduct an experiment if not a lab? Park mein. Community areas mein. So you'll say you'll have a bigger lab basically, something like of a banquet hall or something. See, yes beta. No, the lady at the back. A particular religion. So where will you fit all Hindus? Of Karol Bagh, say, to begin with, Please appreciate, experiments are possible, even though lab you cannot fit human beings into, or large communities into, but the social setting itself can provide an opportunity for experimentation. What we call field experiments. We can go out there and conduct experiments. For example, if somebody has to conduct educational research, you cannot have, teacher students coming into labs and then being experimented upon, but teachers and students are present in educational institutions. So if somebody has to conduct an experiment, he can use this classroom as a natural lab kind of a setting. So he can, possibly administer one type of teaching tool to one set of students and another teaching tool to another, to see how the students respond differently to different teaching aids. Are you with me? So we can do field experiments. Lab type experiments are difficult, but we can do field experiments in sociology. Sorry?
But for more serious issues, we cannot.
So education is petty, okay. But so what is serious? Like domestic violence. Yes, definitely. And it's not about being serious or non-serious. Okay, we can take education also, should be taking education quite seriously. But yes, certain kinds of issues are not amenable to experiments even in a, natural or field setting. So, point is, friends, we discussed that societies cannot be fitted into labs. So, you can't have lab-type controlled environments to conduct social experiments. Secondly, we said social experiments can be conducted in the field. So, if you want to experiment on workers' productivity, many have been done. They have been done on the actual factory floor rather than labs. Workers do work on in factories. Different kind of incentive schemes have been given to them to see, to which ones do they respond positively. Are you with me? Say, positive reinforcements or penalties or whatever. Scores of experiments have been done. Field experiments, even in education like we discussed. Students do study anyways. Okay, you use that field environment to conduct research. But in field experiments also, there are certain difficulties that we encounter. Firstly, friends, there are many areas of sociological interest which are not, easily amenable or easily, which cannot be researched upon. Because of, say, privacy concerns. For example, one very explored area of sociology is human sexuality. Now, people will be very unwilling. You can't enter people's bedrooms, simply. You cannot even, people will not even divulge information about their sexual behavior or preferences very easily. People would have privacy concerns when it comes to that. Yes or no? And it's not only sexuality. In many, in the West, for instance, religion is an increasingly private affair. One's religious beliefs, practices. In India, it's a very public thing. We wear our religion on our sleeve. In the West, it is a very private kind of an affair. So people may not be very comfortable discussing things about their religious preferences, thoughts, etc. Right? So privacy concerns. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद दिया. Secondly, please appreciate when we are conducting experiments for sociological research, we are dealing with who? Human beings. Actual real human relationships. Experiments can have a very real world impact. It's not like, you are doing a chemistry experiment in a lab, mixing chemicals in a beaker. What if they overflow a bit? Here you are dealing with real, living, breathing human beings. So if we discussed hypothetically that crass domestic violence experiment, it can scar somebody's psyche for life. Are you with me? Any experiments, for instance, in the education system, one may want to experiment or, find out how do students react to corporal punishment. Does it, lead to improved discipline, improved learning outcomes? For that, should we start beating children on one pretext or the other? It can really scar you. Or even admonishing children, scolding them. Are you with me? Why only beating? It can be something as seemingly less eventful as scolding. Or shaming. Shaming children in public. Should we be doing that? What effect they have as on learning outcomes. Do students learn better if they are shamed or scolded or beaten up? That is an area of investigation. The point is that real human beings and human relationships are involved. Right? It is basically morally jarring for many to use human beings as guinea pigs. Are you with me? It's morally disturbing. Another concern, even if you are doing this, conducting some experiments on people, okay, should you tell the subjects that they are the subject of an experiment or not? Are you sure? Unanimous? Should we, the researchers, tell the subjects that they are being subjected to an experiment? Or keep this information hidden from them? Hidden. Okay? Why? Anyone, raise your hand and speak. Yes, beta. No, the beti. So let me put it this way. I think what we are trying to say here is it may change their behavior. So we will not capture what we were trying to capture as researchers. Right? So we should hide it from them. Now you guys have no qualms about it, but many in the research community do, that you are basically deceiving people. You are lying to them on your face. You are conducting your research stealthily. Yes or no? You guys have no such this thing. But nevertheless, many people do. In other words, it is an ethical dilemma that should the subjects of the research in a sociological research project be told that they are being researched upon. If you tell them, it modifies their behavior and that defeats the purpose of research or modifies the data. If you don't tell them, then you feel bad about not being very honest to the people. Right? But it does affect your responses, no? That is the thing. It does affect the responses of the people participating, which is problematic. Then we are not capturing things in their natural setting. For example, if we are doing a research on workers to gauge workers' productivity, and if they know it, they will be at their productive best. It actually happened in a factory experiment. Another problem, please appreciate. While conducting research in society, what you are trying to do in an experiment, you are trying to vary one element and see its effect on the other. One is the independent variable, the other is the dependent variable. Right? Say we talked about education level in income. We are trying to see the effect of education level on income level. Alright? For that, what do you need to do? In any scientific experiment, what do you do? Which constant? Which of the two? You keep constant? No, you don't. You don't keep one of these two constant. You vary one of them and see what is the variation produced in the other. You keep other things constant. Other things you keep constant. So there will be two variables, no? That you will be studying the relationship between. You will say you are studying the relationship between force and acceleration. So what do? You will vary the amount of force applied, 5 Newton, 10 Newton, 20, 30, 40, 50, and see what is the acceleration produced, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. Keeping other things constant, meaning keeping the temperature constant, pressure constant, the object constant, right, or its type constant, and so on and so forth. Other things you keep constant, only then you can see the effect of varying one and its effect on the other. Now we are trying to find out the relationship between, say, education and income. So we also, in social experiments, we'll also have to keep other things constant. Problem is, in sociological research, there are way too many variables involved. Way too many variables involved. And it is difficult to neutralize all the other or keep constant all the other variables. For example, one's income levels. You want to see the relationship between education and income. How does education level affect one's income level? But income level also depends on gender, caste in our society, one's family background, age, religion possibly, and so on and so forth. Tens of other factors may affect one's income level. So what will you do? You will have to select in your sample people who are from same all these other things. Keep varying only their education levels. So if I am one of the elements in your sample, okay, what you will have to do, I have a certain educational qualification and say X education and Y level of income. You will have to find other male baniya teachers of UPSC aspirants and see what is the variation in their income levels with the education levels. Are you with me? Because if you pick up women in your data, then any variation you see in income may be due to gender and not due to education. Are you with me on this? So there are way too many variables. Secondly, many of these variables are interconnected. One's education may depend on caste and gender. So there are many interlinked variables. Are you with me? So it gets very difficult to have a controlled environment in sociological research because of the sheer number of variables involved. Another problem we encounter is the problem of measurement and quantification. Problem of measurement and quantification. Please appreciate, friends, in the physical sciences, to their credit, they have been able to devise standardized units of measurement for nearly all the phenomena that they study. I repeat, the physical sciences have been able to develop standardized units of measurement for all the phenomena that they study. What do they study? For example, length. What is the unit of length? Meter. What is the unit of time? Second. What is the unit of mass? Kg. And so on and so forth. And there is agreement amongst the scientists of that community, or that scholars belonging to that field, regarding the quantum. So how much is 1 meter? It is the length of an object kept in some laboratory in France in some environment. Something like that. Right? What is 1 second? Some atomic clock kept somewhere in blah blah. The time it takes to go around 365 times. Whatever. And is there any dispute about how much is 1 meter or 1 second or 1 kg? Across scientists, across disciplines, throughout the world, not only the scientific community but ordinary persons, there is clear consensus and unanimity regarding those units of measurement. And that enables the use of mathematics. It's mathematical processing. You can add 5 newtons to 3 newtons. Yes or no? It enables quantification, measurement, mathematical processing. And not just, even for the seemingly intangibles, like heat. Is there a standardized unit? What? Pressure. Electricity. Whatever you guys decide, but there is consensus. Okay? No, joule is not for electricity. There is consensus, okay? It's only not visible here. But that is due to ignorance, I presume. Okay, so point is, for pressure, right? So, and there is unanimity, consensus, no argument is there regarding what that unit stands for across the globe. And this has enabled these sciences to advance significantly with the use of mathematics, right? Sociology, friends, on the other hand, in our, say, less than 200 years journey, right, almost 200 years, this discipline has been enriched with multiple theories. For example, we have very rich, theoretical diversity. There are also, we are rich in terms of methodologies. We began with positivism, scientific, but then later on many non-scientific methodologies also added on to our kitty. We'll discuss as we proceed. But despite more than 200 years literally of development, the community of sociologists has not been able to devise any standardized units of measurement for most of the phenomena that we study. For most of the things we study, we do not have any standardized units of measurement. What do we study, guys? In sociology, we study social institutions like family, like religion, like politics. This is our subject matter. Say we are studying religion. In religion, one abiding theme, recurrent theme is, in sociological research, whether the importance of religion is declining with modernization. Okay, what we call, this process we call secularization, that the importance of religion in society is declining. Whether that is really happening. Now, how do you measure or capture religiosity? Again, I give you that research project that you have to find out whether religiosity is declining in Karol Bagh. How will you go about it? You will design some questionnaire. What will you ask people there? Tell me. Raise your hands and speak up. Yes? How often do you go to a temple? Or masjid or gurudwara? Yeah? To a place of worship. Views about others' religion. Okay. Do you believe in God? Do you pray daily or how frequently? Ask them simply, are you religious? That would be a good start.
Do you have liberty or not performing? Do you have liberty or not?
Do you have the freedom to choose or whatever? Yes? Who is more religious, you or your child or your grandfather? That would give you a comparative. Yes? Sorry? Okay, so are you donating money? So the more money donated, the more religious? Yes. Many of us would donate 1 rupee but very religiously, with full... Yes. How do you find solace in adversity? Which theist are you? Monotheist? Yes? What is the principles of your religion? What does your religion stand for? So many of us are Hindus, but we don't know what Hinduism is. Like, bas ho gaye paida. Yes. So point is, friends, we'll conduct a survey, right? In that survey, we will ask all these different kinds of questions. Please appreciate, there is no unit of religiosity that we have developed. We can't say this person is 10 joules religious and she is only 8 joules religious. Are you with me? Much of sociological research, like it or not, is conducted using normal language. English, Hindi, whatever. So we are asking things in normal English language. Are you religious? Do you believe in God? And the like. Now when you ask such questions, say you create a scale, okay? Are you religious? Very religious? Okay religious? No. Somewhere between religious and non-religious. Next is irreligious. Lastly, I hate God. Or whatever. Now point is, these terms may mean different things to different respondents, different people. She may choose she is very religious. He may choose he is okay religious or religious. But she may be going, she may think that, I am celebrating Diwali every day, I am going to the temple, I am very religious. And he's like, I am only going thrice a week to the temple, I am only okay religious. So there is no standardized unit. Are you with me? There is no consensus either amongst the members of the public or the community of sociologists on what religious, very religious, irreligious stands for. So we have not developed any concise, quantifiable, standardized units of measurement to capture religiosity, though we've been studying religion since the birth of the discipline. Comte wrote extensively on religion. Tyler wrote, many of the early sociologists. We study political system. We don't have a unit to measure power. Power is what we basically analyze when we study the political system. The distribution, exercise of power. Are you with me? But we can't say that Narendra Modi has 10 kilos of power and Rahul Gandhi has 5 kilos. Whatever, 15 kilos if you like that. Sorry? Or we are studying families. At a very basic level, we are studying social relationships, friends. Yes or no? Of various kinds. We have no units of measurement for the strength of social relationships. If I were to ask you, how strong is your sibling bond? Your bond with your brother or sister? You will say very. He will say it's okay. And you bash up your sibling daily. Are you with me? So there is no standardized unit of measurement for something as basic as the strength of social bonds. And that has prevented this discipline from progressing along scientific lines. We are unable to quantify much of the phenomena that we study. Measure precisely much of the phenomena that we study. That don't talk here. Yeah. I'm not saying we can't develop. What I'm saying is we have not developed. That is the drawback, should I say, a huge lacunae in the scientific development of this discipline. And I also agree with you on the aspect that it is not undoable. No, it should have possibly been done long back. Let's see. But as yet, that is a grave shortcoming of the discipline. Thirdly, another problem that we encounter is the problem of generalization. Please appreciate, friends, human cultures vary widely, very different from each other in different parts of the world. If you conduct a sociological study or research in one part of the world, collecting data and whatever you want to do, and you arrive at certain conclusions or generalizations, are they likely to hold in another part of the world? For example, if you conduct research in American society, is it also likely to hold in Indian society? Quite unlikely. It is very intuitive. Yes or no? American culture is vastly different from Indian culture. Vastly. There was a study in the US which found there is an inverse relationship. So there is a direct relationship between the incidence of domestic violence and family breakdown. Meaning what? The more there is domestic violence, more are the chances of the family breaking down, separating or divorcing, right? In America. Do you think this conclusion is applicable in India? That domestic violence leads to family breakdown? In fact, one study pointed out the opposite. Inverse relationship between domestic violence and family breakdown. So families with higher incidence of domestic violence were less prone to breakdown in India. Very counterintuitive. Are you with me? Point is that Indian women are culturally conditioned to accept, condone, ignore, adjust to violence. Yes or no? And American culture teaches very different things to American women. So you can't have universal kind of generalizations that the physical sciences developed. There is no H2 plus half O2 gives you H2O in sociology. There are no universally applicable laws or generalizations that can be developed. Any generalizations at best are culture specific. And if you were to believe the anti-positivists, what would they argue? You can't make generalizations at all. Human behavior is greatly varied. It is varying. Depends on, so people don't react mechanically. That is the stance of the anti-positivists. Yes? Finally, there is the problem of objectivity. What do you mean by objectivity in the simplest possible language? Based on facts or data. Same for everyone. Everyone who? Won't vary according to the researcher, not the janta, not the researched, but same for the irrespective of the researcher. So that needs to be clear in our heads. So it is not varying or it is not conditioned, colored by the value preferences, the prejudices, the inclinations, the background of the researcher. Right? That is objectivity or value-free sociology. In our syllabus, we have a topic mentioned as fact, value and objectivity. Give this subheading. Write it. So when we say there is objectivity, what do we mean? It is based on facts or values? Facts. And what happens to values? Values of the researcher are kept aside, they do not affect the research. That is the meaning of objectivity. Right? What are facts, friends? Tathya kya hai? Raise your hands and speak. What are facts? Empirical data. Something that has happened. Absolute truth. That's a very strong kind of, with a lot of conviction kind of way of putting it. Yes. Data which can be verified. Nicely put. Same in every condition. Okay. Yes. Universally accepted. Okay. So there are no two views about it simply. Allows verification. No conditions applied. Data perceived by senses. Exactness. Facts are characterized by exactness. We're all pretty much on the right track. We are trying to explain with more difficult words something as simple as facts. So that is hence, that is why we are facing this thing. But yes, please appreciate, please write down. Facts. A fact. And what is a value before you write down? What's a value? What's values? Raise your hands and speak. Expressed behavior. No, not necessarily behavior. A very aptly put, a belief that something is good or bad. Not just good or bad, but also desirable or undesirable. Okay? Yes. Sorry? I would say that's very well put. Our strongest beliefs that are important for us. Written guideline. No, not necessarily written. Not even necessarily in the nature of a very specific guideline. These are very broad commandments in a way. Culture is a very broad term which would include values. Values would be one element. Okay, pretty much set of standards which decide right or wrong. Preference, appropriate. Notions, no, not notions, but yeah, we get the drift. My age is 40 years. This is what? Fact. All right. You know, values are culture specific or facts? Are they culture specific or are they independent? So I am 40 years whether I am in India or America or wherever. Right? But values will differ depending on the cultural context. For example, let me give you an example, then we'll quickly write in Jai Shri Ram. Okay? So, for instance, in India, you know, it literally means what we value or what we consider as worth having, important, worth striving for. In India, one abiding value is collectivism. Collectivism, or more specifically, familism. Familism. Familism meaning we give importance to who? The family as a unit. In the West, in contrast, the value is individualism. Who is valued? The individual. So in India, we have collectivism or familism. The collectivity. It will only delay but not deter me. भैया लगा दो ये. Now you'll have to bear the two also. Yeah. Where was I? So in India, we give great importance to the family as a unit, over and above the individual. Please appreciate. Yes or no? Yes. Many in our homes, middle class homes, the head of the family takes pride in being called a family man. I am a family man, meaning what? I have lived my whole life for the family. I have no interest, no devotion except, yes or no? Many of your fathers may have claimed, I am a family man, and it is indeed their biggest achievement of having. So they are saying we have subscribed to the value, the Indian values of familism. That's what they are saying in layman terms. In America, it is individualism. The individual is far more important than the collectivity. Say the family. So in India, the individual will sacrifice his desires, his ambitions, his interests for the sake of family. So if imagine you are a male person, adult male in love with a woman, but your younger sister is unmarried. So will you get married for your own sake? No. You will keep your marriage on hold for the sake of family. Yes or no? Or you are a female in love with a person of another caste, but you will not marry that person for the sake of family honor. Yes or no? And also to save yourself. But point is, individuals' desires, aspirations, interests can be sacrificed at the altar of the family. Yes or no? In the West, it is quite the opposite. That is why in India we have arranged marriage. They say na the marriage is between two families. परिवारों के बीच में शादी होती है. So even the unit of shadi is the family, not the individual. In the West, they have love marriage. So I am attracted to that person, or I will find happiness with that person. I will invite my parents to my family, my shadi. That's what they do. Huh? Very different kind of culture. So these arise, such kind of social practices arise from the value system of the society. Yes? To likho. A fact is an empirically verifiable observation. Empirically verifiable observation. Full stop. Facts remain the same for all observers. Full stop. Natural sciences study what? Facts. Study facts. Values refer to subjective preferences due to socialization, socialization meaning, being taught by the society. Socialization, comma, personal experiences, prejudices, or bias. Full stop. Values of a society define what is considered as important or worthwhile. Full stop. Values guide the behavior of the individual. Guide the behavior of the individual. Okay? Full stop. Fact is in single quotes, what is? Fact is, in single quotes, what is? Quote close. While values are in single quote, what one prefers. What one prefers. Now, the whole question in sociology is whether it is a study of facts or whether the values of the researcher have a role to play in sociological research. That is what we have to try to, which sociologists, which kind of sociologists contend that it is all about facts? Positivists, absolutely. Objectivity. According to Bierstedt, Robert Bierstedt, according to Robert Bierstedt, objectivity means that the conclusions arrived at as a result of inquiry are independent, one word independent, are independent of the race, color, creed, occupation, race, color, creed, occupation, nationality, religion, moral preferences, and political predisposition of the investigator. All right? So that is a quote-worthy definition. In simplest of language, objectivity means what? Unbiased research, value-free research. Okay? That is objectivity. Meaning research based on facts and not affected by values of the researcher. We will be exploring the question of objectivity at greater length in the next lecture. Meanwhile, again it is reiterated, highly advisable that you revise the whole week's thing that we have done. Don't let things pile up. Make brief notes and attempt the weekly assignment test that you will be administered. Okay? बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. The assignment we will get access to on the portal, on the app, on Sunday. The IS Gurukul app. Sorry? Sunday all the time you can attempt the assignment. Upload it, yes. Any questions? I am here, friends. Yes, beta. Hello? One of you had brought a question to me yesterday regarding culture with Oxford Dictionary. Who was it? Please meet me again if you are here. A question regarding culture with the Oxford Dictionary one of you had bought. You had, huh? Huh? Next class is on Monday, just to clarify. क्या है सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट थ्योरी बेसिकली ये कहती है कि जो सरकार आई है और रीजन फॉर द इमर्जेंस ऑफ गवर्नमेंट इज अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, अ वॉलंटरी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट अमंग द मेंबर्स ऑफ द सोसाइटी. लोगों ने खुद अपनी खुशी से कुछ अपनी पावर्स को वो किया, सरेंडर किया और एक पर्सन को वो पावर दे दी. इस तरह से अथॉरिटी या सरकार का जन्म और इससे डिवाइन थ्योरी ऑफ किंगशिप क्वेश्चन हुई, चैलेंज हुई। पहले राजा लोग या रूलर्स ये क्लेम करते थे कि हम भगवान के रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स हैं या भगवान दे यूज्ड टू क्लेम अ डिवाइन बेसिस फॉर पॉलिटिकल। तो सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट थ्योरी का कोई डिवाइन बेसिस नहीं है, जनता से ही इन लोगों को पावर मिली, तो जनता चाहे तो फिर से ले सकती है, विच इज द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी। Wait for a minute. They were introductory. Yes, so we had discussed how to proceed to the course, plus what is social, what is society, we had touched upon. What you can simply do is over the weekend you get access to those lectures from the tech support team. Okay, you see them online, and then you proceed, then you come on par. जो भी आपका छूटा है वो आप देख सकते हो. You meet me here. I'll be here. Monday to Friday I'll be here. From afternoon till 9 to 10.
Research in the society. Research in the society. Anything positive way, sir. That's it. It is the valuable find us. For example, these are the factors, these are the harassment you are going on or you are facing. That's why you put up in a positive way. These are the moments who have get an advantage of it by sharing. You can just say that
आप ये कह रहे हो कि हम औरतों को इनकरेज कर सकते हैं सामने आने के लिए, शेयर करने के लिए कि उनके साथ ये हुआ है, और उनको बताएंगे कि क्या फायदे हैं, देखो उनको राहत मिली अपने, है ना, वाइफ बीटिंग से, समथिंग लाइक दैट। तो इससे आप कह रहे हो जो डेटा में कमी है वो पूरी हो जाएगी। आप इनकरेज जरूर कर सकते हो, पर उसके लिए आप एक स्ट्रेंजर रिसर्चर ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट हो या उसका सास और पति?
फैमिली ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, हमारे रिसर्च से हमारा कुछ
वो कहेगी यार ये तो आके बोल गया, ज्ञान बांट गया, रहना तो मुझे डेली उनके साथ है।
सोसाइटी में तो कोई और भी नहीं करेगा सर, फेथ इशू होगा।
और इज्जत किसकी जाएगी? मेरी ही जाएगी अगर मैं बताऊंगी मैं अपने पति से पिटती हूँ, तो फिर क्यों बताऊँ आपको, है ना? ना आप मेरी मदद करने वाले ना कुछ, और आप सोशल वर्कर नहीं हो, आप रिसर्चर हो। वर्कर है तो वो अलग करना है, नारेबाजी और ये सब वो अलग चीज़ है, हम वो नहीं कर रहे। क्या पेपर में नहीं आते की बात नहीं, उनके दिमाग में कोई क्वेश्चन उपजा तो ठीक है, वो पूछना बिल्कुल लाजमी है।
सर जो सिलेबस के टॉपिक्स हैं सोशल एंड कॉमन सेंस, सोशल
इज देयर एनीबॉडी इनसाइड? देन व्हाट आर यू लुकिंग एट द स्क्रीन? अच्छा हाँ ठीक है,
रह गए फर्स्ट वाले पार्ट के सोशल अदर सोशल साइंस एंड सोशल एंड कॉमन सेंस
आगे हम करेंगे, आगे करेंगे डेफिनेटली।
Sir, I have not got access to the portal.
You have to download the app. You would have got a welcome mail.
No, sir. I have paid the fees. I have only got the receipt, online receipt.
Did you share your email ID?
Yes, sir.
Then you would have gotten welcome mail. Check your mail and you can check also the spam folder. कई बार उसमें जाती है और उसमें आपको यूजर नेम पासवर्ड वगैरह होगा, आप डाउनलोड करके उसको and in case you face any difficulty you WhatsApp the tech support number. They will help you out.
सर आई हैड अ डाउट एट दैट टाइम कि सर मतलब रेनेसॉ पीरियड और इनलाइटनमेंट पीरियड में मतलब ये नोशन डेवलप हुआ दैट ह्यूमन बीइंग्स आर रैशनल, और सर उसके बाद क्या है सोशियोलॉजी एज अ डिसिप्लिन एमर्ज हुआ, और उसमें वी आर सेइंग दैट द एक्शंस ऑफ इंडिविजुअल आर डिटरमाइंड बाय द सोसाइटी, सो वी आर सेइंग दैट इंडिविजुअल्स आर नॉट एबल टू लाइक take their or make their decisions. So we are saying that they are not rational.
So we are not saying they are not rational. We are saying they are controlled by the society. फर्क है।
सर तो फिर
रैशनैलिटी का मतलब ये नहीं है कि, या अगर आप कंट्रोल्ड हो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप इरैशनल हो, दोनों अलग चीज़ें हैं ना। रैशनल है कि जब कोई आप वो आपका कोई भी एक्शन है दैट इज बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट काइंड ऑफ कंसिडरेशंस, आर यू डूइंग इट एज अ मैटर ऑफ कस्टम और इमोशन, और on the basis of rational considerations.
तो जैसे सपोज सर कि डाउरी है, डाउरी सिस्टम है, एंड आई एम अपोजिंग डाउरी सिस्टम, मतलब मैं उसके अपोज में हूँ, और सपोज कि यू कम फ्रॉम अ फैमिली और फ्रॉम अ कल्चर वेयर डाउरी इज लाइक, मतलब जो है वो प्रेवलेंट है, तो सर इन दैट केस माई रैशनैलिटी इज कॉम्प्रोमाइज मैम, that even though I'm rational but I'm not like following what I'm feeling, so my rationality is compromised.
रैशनैलिटी फीलिंग्स के बेसिस पे नहीं होती, रैशनैलिटी आपके गोल्स के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में होती है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन मॉडर्न इंडस्ट्रियल सोसाइटीज मोस्ट डिसीजंस इन द इकोनॉमी आर कंसिडर्ड टू बी बेस्ड ऑन रैशनैलिटी. साफ बात है, अगर आप मार्केट में ये टी शर्ट लेने गए, एक दुकान पे आपको ये 500 की मिल रही है, दूसरी दुकान पे ये 700 की मिल रही है, किस दुकान से लोगे? जिसपे 500 की मिल रही है. इट इज़ अ रैशनल डिसीजन. क्यों? आप अपना जो बेनिफिट है वो मैक्सिमाइज कर रहे हैं. दैट इज व्हाट वी टर्म एज रैशनैलिटी. यू हैव एन एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव, मुझे टी शर्ट चाहिए और अपना इंटरेस्ट, अपने हित को बचाए रखना है, मैक्सिमाइज करना है, एंड यू चूज द पाथ विच इज द मोस्ट, विच विल हेल्प यू अटेन दैट outcome most efficient.
Sir, the positive sort of the belief that
Okay, sir, thank you, sir.
everything is from the society, like as
Sorry.
the positive sort of the belief that as an individual we are not really that powerful, the society will drive us to whatever is going to happen. So but their rise as a sociologist, as a thinker, was again something new in the society at that time. Like there have been sociologists earlier also, but their idea was new, or the anti-positivism that was developing, that was also a different opinion. So in the same society, mostly homogeneous Europe, वहाँ पे there are a lot of ideas.
कहना ना कि यूरोप होमोजीनियस था, ये बहुत गलत है.
हाँ, exactly.
पर्टिकुलरली मॉडर्न इंडस्ट्रियल सोसाइटी को हम होमोजीनियस बोले तो वो ही गलत हो जाता है. ठीक है, बिकॉज मॉडर्न इंडस्ट्रियल सोसाइटी का एक वन ऑफ द डिफाइनिंग फीचर्स इज हेट्रोजीनिटी. People from, say, in cities, imagine a city to represent the modern industrial society and the village to represent a primitive or pre-modern traditional society. शहर में लोग अलग अलग जगहों से आते हैं, from different social backgrounds. कोई हिंदू है, कोई मुसलमान है, कोई क्रिश्चियन है, कोई पारसी है, अलग अलग रेसेस के आते हैं, रंगों के, कोई गोरा है, कोई काला है, कोई सांवला है, कोई वट है, अलग अलग लिंग्विस्टिक बैकग्राउंड्स के. तो मॉडर्न सोसाइटी को होमोजीनियस नहीं बोलते, हेट्रोजीनियस होती है.
But still different ideas or
हमारे ऑक्यूपेशंस बहुत डिफरेंट होते हैं मॉडर्न इंडस्ट्रियल सोसाइटी. कोई इंजीनियर है, कोई सीए है, कोई चौकीदार है, कोई कुछ. ट्रेडिशनल सोसाइटी होमोजीनियस होती है.
So why modernity only happened in Europe only? I was trying to answer previous year's question. There was a question like why modernity happened first. I can understand, but why only in Europe?
नहीं, it did not happen only in Europe. ये गलत है. जो अभी पिछले साल सवाल आया था ना,
2020.
तो उसमें ये था कि क्या था एग्जैक्टली सवाल याद है?
Why modernity happened? Why modernity?
Why?
Modernity happened first and only in Europe.
हाँ, उसके बाद था शायद कमेंट या कुछ डिस्कस, है ना? हाँ, तो ये कहना सही है, फर्स्ट इट हैपेंड इन यूरोप, परंतु जो दूसरा पार्ट में इट हैपेंड ओनली इन यूरोप, ये गलत है. तो आप इस स्टेटमेंट को डिनाई करो.
I was trying to like US also had some concept of modernity.
भैया, we are also undergoing modernization. Various societies have undergone or are undergoing modernization. तो ये कहना तो सही है कि modernity first happened in Europe, परंतु only ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं. जापान is already a modernized country, एशिया में पड़ता है. ऑस्ट्रेलिया है, मॉडर्न है, समझ रहे हो? यूएसए है, मॉडर्न है. तो ये कहना कि मॉडर्न केवल यूरोप है या यूरोप में हुआ, ये गलत है. ये कहना सही है कि पहला यूरोप में हुआ.
So I was going through syllabus, like are we going to have to come back to scope of political science? And
we will discuss that later, towards the end of paper 1. Yes, we'll be discussing many things later on. All that, those topics, sociology and common sense, sociology and pol science, psychology वगैरह, ये सारे sociological research, we'll be discussing bulk of it in towards the end of paper 1.
सर 5 क्लास हो गई है सर अपनी, उसमें सर अपन ने पेज देखे, मैंने काउंट किए बच्चे. सर आपने बोला था वीकेंड पे नोट बनाने की कोशिश करना, कल मैंने कोशिश की सर, तो उसमें तो मेरे को आपकी सब डिक्टेशन अच्छे ही शब्द लग रहे हैं. मैं शॉर्ट लिस्ट कैसे करूँ सर?
शब्द अच्छे की बात नहीं है. पॉइंट इज आपको कुछ ऐसा चाहिए जो संक्षेप में आपको एसेंस ऑफ द लेक्चर मिल जाए.
सर जिसका आपने बोला था ना कि लेक्चर देखना उस वो नोट वाला, वो का ऑनलाइन अपलोडेड है सर कि कहाँ पे?
कौन सा नोट वाला?
सर आपने बनाया था ना कि नोट मेकिंग के लिए आपको कैसे बनाते हैं, ऐसे पिक्टोग्राफिक टाइप बताइए। फर्स्ट लेक्चर में आपने
आई डोंट रिकलेक्ट सेइंग दैट।
नहीं सर, आपने पक्का बोला था कुछ करेंगे। पहली बार मैंने
नहीं बोला होगा, मैं आपको कोई टॉपिक से इलस्ट्रेट कर दूंगा कैसे शॉर्ट नोट्स, तो वो तो मैं साक्षात करूंगा, कोई लेक्चर अपलोडेड नहीं।
ठीक है सर। और वो भैया वो जो पूछ के गए कि वो डिस्कस वाला, तो सर ऐसे भारत के रूप में जीएस पेपर 1 में भी मतलब जीएस पेपर या हॉस्टल पेपर 1 में जवाब दे सकते हैं क्या सर, भारत को पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू में रखकर?
हाँ दे सकते, हाँ दे सकते।
अच्छा सर, सेकंड पेपर तक रिस्ट्रिक्टेड नहीं है ना कि इंडियन सोसाइटी
नहीं,
पेपर 1 में भी लिखो तो
जहाँ पे रेलेवेंट है, एप्लीकेबल है।
जैसे इस क्वेश्चन में था कमेंट करना,
इसमें इन पासिंग आप मेंशन कर सकते हैं, बट बहुत सारे और टॉपिक्स होंगे पेपर 1 में जहाँ पे खूब भारत घुसा सकते रेलेवेंट।
जय हिंद, जय भारतीयता। सर एक लास्ट था सर, भैया ने कहा था मैं 2 दिन से आ रहा हूँ कि मेरे को दोपहर वाले बैच में एडमिशन चाहिए। मेरी जीएस क्लास सर 2:30 बजे खत्म हो जाती है, 4 घंटे।
मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा इस बारे में आप उनसे डिस्कस करें।
ठीक है, धन्यवाद।
Sir, can you explain how history influenced early sociologists? Sir, please.
How history
influenced early sociologists? Sir, you explained yesterday.
अच्छा, history influenced early sociologists. हिस्ट्री से हमने क्या सीखा? Give me a moment. आ जाओ अंदर आ जाओ, बिकॉज मेरे को कुछ काम भी है। I'll just come in a moment. We need limited content at the end of the day. ठीक है, हमें 150-250 शब्दों में लिखना है जो भी है. So we have a reasonable amount of content. No, otherwise it can be a scene. ठीक है.
Sir, but बहुत prominent role play कर रहा था, obviously एक reason Nobel Prize winner also. Sir, मतलब it is like I feel कि she is not important.
It's not something I would say कि is essential या mandatory to mention. We need to have reasonable amount of content regarding the topic which is